Hello and welcome to the channel, my good people. I am coming to you today because things are out of hand with the misuse and abuse of the term woke. But first, a question, my good people, my fellow Americans. Tell me this. When did mainstream news outlets start using street vernacular and urban terms like woke during news broadcasts? Talking like vloggers, professional journalists, I presume. Because now we have journalists and politicians hijacking these urban terms where journalists would once say phrases like, in this current climate of political correctness, people are moving their thinking towards blah, 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 which of course has zero swag. So now politicians, instead of saying climate, they're saying culture. And instead of using their previous go-to phrase, political correctness, they're now saying woke.
It didn't go well.
Of Americans consider themselves very liberal, and probably fewer of them consider themselves to be woke. And so, you know, when we talk about traditional,
what does that mean to you? Would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So, I mean, woke is sort of the idea that this is going to be one of those moments that goes viral. I mean, woke is something that's very hard to define, and we've spent an entire chapter defining it. It is sort of the understanding that we need to totally reimagine and redo society in order to create hierarchies of oppression. It's hard to explain in a 15-second soundbite.
Yeah, look, your time.
And it morphs into the phrase woke culture. Okay, all in an effort to sound cool. Political journalists are taking terms primarily used by younger African Americans and others who actually know what that term means. Unlike some journalists who have not only not done their research, but they also are totally disconnected from the community from whence this term came. Whence, that's English, that's not slang. Well, we'll break down what woke means, what it really means, and some examples of people who are truly woke. Because political journalists using slang and urban terms without doing their research is it's a shame. It's out of hand. And isn't that what's supposed to differentiate a professional journalist from a vlogger like myself? Okay, and I do my research. A professional journalist, you're supposed to know what you're talking about. Or are they willingly trying to confuse people? I guess the bigger question is, why is mainstream news and politicians using these slang terms at all? Is it to confuse people? Is it to sound cool? Because it's not cool. You know, the African American community comes up with a lot of quick, colorful ways to say things, like doing it for the culture and woke. But let's just break down the term woke, which has nothing to do with being a Democrat or a Republican, being left or right, which are also terms, left and right, for the liberal or conservative party, which has always been kind of funny for me to hear about white conservative males and the far right conservatives, because Black parents are just about the most conservative people on the planet that I know. And I don't mean to imply that this is a good thing, but the Black community largely doesn't have a good track record with tolerance for homosexuality in the LGBTQ plus community. You know, Black folks, you got a lot of church going holy rollers. I'm not saying it's good. Black people are very idealistic, okay? So conservative must really mean something else. I'm just saying. Let's keep it 100. See, there goes another one of those terms, but let's just stick to woke, which has nothing to do with being a Democrat or a Republican, being left or right, which are also terms that have taken on new meaning, left and right. I mean, isn't that like a direction, left and right? Obviously, woke literally means you're not asleep. You have awakened. And figuratively, it has not strayed far from that meaning in the urban community. Being woke means that you're not asleep in life and you're aware of what's going on and you're not ignorant. And of course, knowledge is vast. We could be talking about any number of topics. Woke is used in the African American culture to describe people that have a wealth of knowledge or enlightenment. You have a broad awareness versus ignorance. You're not limited in your knowledge. Your mind is open and pliable. For those of you who don't have friends to help you with all of this, you refer to people as being woke for a person demonstrating vast knowledge on a subject, for example, like investment strategies, okay? The latest advancements in health and medicine, AI, ChatGPT, law, spiritual understanding, or enlightenment. Woke would be used in a spiritual context quicker than it would be used to demonstrate someone's political position. You say Martin Luther King was woke. Martin Luther King was an enlightened man who wanted to wake up the people. He wanted to wake up all of mankind to a more loving path. And Martin Luther King was also an intellectual. And a lot of teachers can be woke, but they're not always woke. Some teachers are asleep. They're just following orders, okay? No shade to teachers. No shade to teachers. See, there I go again. Another one of those urban terms. You can define shade the Webster's Dictionary way, or you can define it the way it's used in more relaxed conversations. And you know, these urban terms, normally you're not going to get into big heated battles when you're using this kind of easy, relaxed language. But people that do stir up political discord between groups, using these words, it's just not a good thing. Using these terms that you have nothing to do with. And of course, the opposite of woke would be ignorant or asleep or destructive, deceitful types, willingly ignorant and asleep. Now, mainstream political journalists and vloggers who want to be politicians, I know y'all have a lot of fun using woke, and it does have a nice ring to it. It does. Woke. It's fun to use, but you're just confusing yourself and your associates if you haven't done your research. Hey, but again, some folks love confusion. This is the opposite of being enlightened. This is the opposite of being woke and behaving like a woke person. It has nothing to do with woke. It's the opposite of woke when you stir up this confusion. We know many people who fake the righteous path, who fake being enlightened, like some of these Catholic priests, like some holy men, supposed holy men, or upstanding citizens who rob charities, acting like they're for the people, but they're actually hustlers, the opposite of woke. In the right or the conservatives, I don't think I've ever heard woke being used to describe enlightenment or spiritual, someone being spiritually evolved. Never. It's always some kind of anger towards this woke culture that they created. Woke culture? That's a funny term. Why don't you go back to political correctness? I know the swag is not there, but if you want peace and you want people to have understanding, stick to the terms. We can follow CNN straight English. It's better. It's better because when you start playing around in these other sandboxes, it gets confusing. But again, are there those out there just trying to confuse people? Really? You know, woke is a useful term, and there's reasons you may be called on to get woke, or someone suggests that you need to be woke. You may need to be enlightened to the fact that there's a virus or a flu spreading, or that there's maybe a teacher strike is coming up, and you need to get woke about, check out the news, see what's happened in the current news cycle. You can find a reliable source to find out what's going on. There might be a teacher strike. There might be some weather. You need to get woke. It doesn't have to be the most serious thing to be woke, but maybe you do need to get woke on a serious level to improve your condition or to be educated versus being ignorant. Take a look at the world around you and get a better understanding versus being ignorant or burying your hand in the sand, being lost, asleep. That's the opposite of woke. Sleepwalking, being clueless, and you seem to only be recognizing things on the surface. You can't see any deeper. Then you're not woke. You're half asleep, you're sleepwalking. We could talk about woke, because to be enlightened, that is a deep thing. So I just basically want to know, what are we doing here? Are we using these terms? Are these terms being brought into the mainstream media, brought into mainstream news outlets to get an understanding between people, between parties, between generations? Or are you just sowing the seeds of discord and confusion? Discord and confusion. Maybe someone can describe woke in just a short little catchphrase quicker than anything that I've said, because I've never in my conversations amongst the people who really use the word ever had to hear it defined. It's like self-explanatory, actually. Being woke is self-explanatory. So why is all this confusion being kicked up? Why are people that have disdain for the term woke? You're using a term you have disdain for. So how did you come up with using it? How do you think these news agencies and these political journalists came up with the idea to use woke culture? Because I don't get it, but I know that it's a mess. It's a hot mess. It's just not cool. They need to drop it like it's hot. Go back to political correctness. But y'all can tell me what y'all think. The recent backlash with the Bud Light ad that featured Dylan Mulvaney, in particular, people kept referring to the woke culture. Now, I thought the ad was not well done, and I don't think Dylan Mulvaney was the best fit. There's a lot going on with that. But the reference to woke culture, I just kept hearing it over and over and over. And I'm just like, hey, these kids out here, they're not even kids. These are professional journalists using the term woke. And I'm just like, why? How did y'all come up with that? But let me know, when did this start? Actually, using slang, when did this start? Y'all do be sure to come back and join me. I'm always bringing you news you can use in highlighting moments and topics of interest. Until the next time, y'all keep living your life like it's golden. Thanks for stopping by. Peace.